Hello, brain checkers. Welcome to today's episode where we begin looking at the various methods of contraception, or rather family planning methods. Now, we're going to be starting with the fertility awareness methods. Now, just from the terminology itself, fertility awareness methods, it just entails that we're going to be looking at what are some of the signs and symptoms for you to know that you're actually fertile at this period, and then abstain, or rather avoid sexual intercourse, so you can then go ahead and prevent pregnancy from occurring. Now, these methods require a number of things or criteria to actually be met. So you have a lot of tick boxes to actually meet for you to rely on these methods. There are methods that can be utilized by people that do not react quite well with the hormonal methods or the other methods that we're going to be discussing a little bit later on, and then choose to say, I just want to be as natural as possible, so I will use the natural family planning methods or the fertility awareness methods. So they require some amount of discipline and also commitment, because you have to look at the menstrual cycle for a very long period of time, at least about 6 to 12 cycles. That means 6 months to about 12 months of you understanding your cycle and knowing when exactly is your fertile days, or when do your fertile days fall. Now, let's begin by looking at one important fertility awareness method, which we call the basal body temperature, which is the BBT, the basal body temperature. Now, the basal body temperature basically is the temperature. It's about you measuring the temperature on a daily basis, having to check your temperature. And the most recommended temperatures here would either be an oral temperature, a vaginal or a rectal temperature, and not the temporal or the frontal and axillary temperatures. Those may not necessarily give you the most accurate and consistent reading. So you would want to use either the oral, the rectal, or the vaginal temperature readings for you to have a more accurate reading of what your basal body temperature would be. So this basal body temperature is the temperature reading that you're obviously going to get at waking up. That is when you have been resting for at least a period of about 3 hours, and not less than 3 hours, because what is then going to be happening is that progesterone is going to then cause a raise in the body temperature. So you want to know what the body temperature is going to be when you have been resting for a period of about 3 hours, and before waking up, then you take your body temperature on a daily basis. So once you denote and note the temperature readings for that particular month, so you'll be doing this on a daily basis, and that's why we're saying that the natural family planning methods or fertility awareness methods, they need you to be very disciplined and committed, because you have to do this on a daily basis. And if you are doing this, then you note that your temperature readings are of a certain value. Let's say, for instance, 36.5 degrees Celsius. And then when you get to a stage where you then ovulate, there will be plenty of progesterone that is coming into play. And so that coming into a high amounts of progesterone then raises your temperature. And when it raises your temperature, it means that your temperature is going to be high until your next menstrual period. So it means that progesterone is going to be in higher amounts until a time when you have your next menses. So the basal body temperature method is going to help you to determine periods or fertile periods retrospectively. You may not use it as a one-time method, so you will need to do this on a couple of times for you to then understand when you had a rise in temperature. So if you've been checking your temperature for the first 13 days, and then on day 14 you then ovulate and you check your temperature, you notice that the temperature has started going higher. And if your temperature has started going high, it may increase from about 0.2 to 0.5 degrees Celsius. So that increment in the temperature is indicating that you are in your fertile period. So all you're going to do is, after you have finished that entire cycle, so 6 days prior to the time of ovulation and about 2 to 3 days after ovulation, those will be the days that will be considered as your fertile days. It means that if sexual intercourse is allowed to happen around that period, then the chances of you getting pregnant are obviously going to be high. So this method is going to help you to understand when you are fertile, that is retrospectively. And this is why you have to look at these menstrual or the fertility awareness methods with caution. Why? Because you need to look at a number of cycles for you to understand which ones are your fertile days. So once that has then happened, and then the decline in the progesterone levels is then going to help you know that now you are in your safer days. So it means that 6 or more than 6 days, that is prior to your ovulation days, those will be your safer days. And more than about 3 to 4 days after your ovulatory phase, then those are also going to be your safe days. So it is only in between 6 days before your ovulatory phase and about 2 to 3 days, that is after your ovulatory phase, are going to be considered as the most fertile days. And once you have a sexual intercourse around that period of time, then the chances that you would fall pregnant then become very high. So that is the basal body temperature. It requires you checking your temperature, and almost at the same time, that is after you have been resting for at least a period of not less than 3 hours, because progesterone then will tend to raise your body temperature, and it helps you in knowing your fertile periods, that is retrospectively. So you have to be very disciplined and committed in checking your temperatures every day, so that you understand when were you fertile, when did you most likely ovulate. So if you found that video helpful in understanding the basal body temperature and also looking forward to the other methods, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up. Don't hesitate to like the video, share the video as much as possible, and if you're not yet following, then go ahead and click the follow button. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.